Welcome to E3, Engage and Empower with Empathy, a podcast brought to you by the Empathy Collective, a consulting firm that helps business leaders inspire change, one conversation at a time. We are building a community of like-minded leaders and experts who all share the same passion, taking care of people at work. Whether you are a blue-collar worker or a white-collar worker, small business owner or corporate executive, you belong in this community. Korean by blood, Argentinian by heart, and American by choice. This is how today's guest, the founder of Sokit Beauty, describes herself. After spending 17 years in corporate finance and consulting, Yoona So reached a pivotal moment at the beginning of her foray into motherhood that changed her life forever. We talk about holistic wellness and the importance of self-care in taking a proactive approach to well-being. From the impact of Korean culture on her wellness routine to the newfound purpose Yoona has uncovered in her business and her clients, you will enjoy going on this journey with us and emerge with a different perspective on the meaning of beauty. This is E3, Engage and Empower with Empathy. Welcome to the show, Yoona. It's really lovely to have you here. You have such an interesting background, so I'm really curious to learn more about you and get into this conversation about how you moved from the world of corporate to the world of beauty.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here, especially with what your podcast focuses on. The topic of empathy is actually very important to me personally. And I think a lot of your listeners will really enjoy, hopefully will enjoy what we'll be discussing today.
I have no doubt they will. So let's talk about your journey a little bit, because it is a fascinating one. So you had mentioned to me that you're Korean, so that's your ethnic heritage, but you grew up in Argentina and now you're in California. So tell me a little bit about that multicultural background. How did it influence you as a human and also a business owner?
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that too, because one of my friends, she always tells me that I'm Korean by blood, Latina by heart, but I'm American by choice. So, and this is super, super accurate. So I'm Korean. My parents are Korean, but I grew up in Argentina, like you mentioned. So Spanish is my first language. So now you hear my accent, you cannot unhear it. But I was raised in a culture that's very, very expressive. It's very warm, and it's also a very community-driven culture. But at home, my Korean traditions were very strong. So especially when it came down to food, skincare, work ethics, respect for elders, for example, right? And that multicultural upbringing, I think it really shaped how I see everything that I do, how I see the world. And I learned how to adapt early on. So it's a little bit more finding ways to figure out how to belong in a specific place. And I think that actually translates into everything that I do, including how I conduct my business and how I build my business and being a business owner now. And it's why I try to make Korean skincare approachable for people who didn't grow up with it, like I did, for example. And I know that it's a little bit overwhelming at times, where people are trying to find things and they hear about Korean beauty, but they don't know how to navigate through that because it's a lot. And I kind of feel like that's very similar to somebody trying to figure out where you belong, like your culture, and how you can navigate through all of that. And well, now I'm here in California and see how much beauty is like creating a space where cultures are starting to intersect. And Sokit is really not just about skincare for me. For me, it's really personal. It's about helping people feel seen, helping people feel celebrated and cared for. And no matter where they're from, they have something that they can always come back to, and they have ways that they can find what they need and that's going to work for them.
Yeah, and I love that perspective on beauty. And I want to backtrack a little bit, because I think you can provide a really unique perspective on how you got to beauty to begin with. So you've had an interesting career path, and it hasn't always been in the beauty industry. How did you end up where you are today?
Yeah, so I think I completely skipped that while I was talking about my roots, just because I'm thinking, oh, well, I'll give you like the core of what I'm made of. But in terms of my story as to how I ended up here, I was in corporate for about 17 years. So college, I graduated with a finance degree, and then I went into wealth management, all within finance. I went into finance strategy consulting. I was in corporate finance. So my entire background is in finance, and I worked in corporate for so long that for me, it was like second nature. You learn how to climb the corporate ladder, you learn how to build teams, how to interact with teams, and you adapt to the different companies that you're working with and the different companies that you have as your clients. When I had my first kid, it was during the pandemic. I realized that when I came back to corporate after my maternity leave, I didn't have the same passion, I didn't have the same drive. So while before the pandemic, I was really focused on how to deliver projects, how to get a promotion and things like that. When I came back, I'm like, oh my God, how do I survive? It was really more about being present at work. But again, I didn't have the same passion. It was more like, okay, well, I just need to get this done and then go back to my family. And then with my second kid, while I was pregnant, I just realized, I can't do this anymore. I had Sokit as a side hustle when I had my first kid, and I kept it on the side. I got really busy with work, so I really just had the website open, but I haven't done anything with it. And when I was pregnant with my second kid, I shifted. I thought, if that's the feeling that I had with my first kid, I don't think I can go through that again, now having a toddler and a newborn. And I shifted my focus 100% towards SoKid. I also thought at the time that there was something there, just because I had a lot of coworkers and I had a lot of friends that would always come to me and ask me, hey, I saw this online and I don't know how to use it, or can you give me recommendations about the products that you use? So it was like big enough for me to figure out, there might be something there. And I don't want to just be another skincare company. I want to be a company that really listens to the consumer. And I'm not shoving products down your throat. I am really trying to figure out, okay, what is it that you really need, and help people stay with a very simple routine, not too many products, but find the stuff that actually works for you. So for me, it was more of a personal shift to do Sokit 100%. But through that change, I actually find a lot of purpose and I actually find a lot more drive. And while I did the change because I wanted flexibility, yes, I have the flexibility, but I still work a lot of hours. I probably work more than I did before, but I can actually manage my time a little bit better, work when the kids are actually sleeping or when they're at school. So it worked really well for me, even though, again, it was for personal reasons. I think it worked out for the better.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes a difference when you're your own boss, right? Even though you're working the same or if not more hours, something
Hmm.
feels different when you're in charge,
Yes, it absolutely
in
does.
control of your life.
It
Yeah.
absolutely does.
I'm trying to dig into this evolution a little bit more. You clearly you were well versed in the world of finance. When did the beauty piece become that side hustle or that little
Mhm.
hobby or the thing that you enjoyed? I mean, were people coming to you naturally for beauty advice, or what stemmed that initial side hustle to begin with?
Yeah, so I think it was a combination of a lot of different things. So with friends, we used to always talk about, like products that we would hear, or we would have trips to Korea, buy a bunch of stuff, and we're always sharing. When you're with your girlfriends, you're always talking about, oh, well, how did you do your hair? What's the makeup? What's the color, right? So that was naturally part of my group of friends. And that's something that we would always do. At work, I had a lot of coworkers always talking about, oh, what do you do for your skin? Because it looks very healthy. And they always had questions. So it was always helping them, like taking them to some of these Korean places for them to find some of the products that I was using that was like, you know what, this one's good, but this one is better. So that was also part of, my natural habitat, I guess. But more importantly, my sister and I used to go to Korea, and every time we went to Korea, we used to bring like suitcases full of stuff. And when we started SoKid, our thought was, we're just gonna start Sokit as a subscription company where you buy packs of sheet masks. So the reason for that is when we'll go to Korea, we always get 10, 20, 30, 40 packs of different sheet masks. And then at the end of the day, you're like, well, I took advantage of all those deals that you could find, but are they good? Or is it just a hype, right? So what we wanted to do when we started SoKit is make skincare, more specifically sheet masks, available for people for them to be able to try one at a time. So we would put bundles of like 5 or 10 sheet masks, all different brands, all different products for them to try. And then if you like it, you can always go back and buy like a whole 10 pack of the same one. But we wanted to make this accessible for people, because what we did with all the sheet masks that we brought back was use a few, thinking, every day I'm going to do a sheet mask. No, that doesn't happen. You try as much as you can, but we ended up throwing away a lot of stuff that ended up expiring. So with that, we're like, okay, well, how can we help people have something, try things on without the burden of having to buy so much in bulk? And that also creates so much waste. And so we started with just sheet masks at the time, and then we left it on the side. And then over time, I'm like, well, but sheet mask is really just an addition to your routine. It's not the essential. It's more something that you use when you want to pamper yourself. So then we started pivoting towards, okay, let's bring some of the skincare products that we think are the best ones in the market that we really like. And when we started bringing all these things, it was more, I'm going to try it personally. I'm going to try it. My sister, she's going to try everything. And if we like it and we think that those are the best products out there, then we would bring it to the store. So we started with very small amounts of products, and it was all super, super curated.
I absolutely love that. You spent time in Argentina, but you were growing up in a Korean household. Do you feel like this multicultural connection impacted the way you approach beauty? Because I feel like, at least as an American myself, Korean beauty culture has a reputation. My understanding is it really stems from really connecting to your inner virtue, that it's more than just the outer appearance and the superficial side of beauty.
Mhm.
Is that kind of the side that you tune into, that aspect of Korean beauty culture, or is it even deeper than that? I'm just curious, like what's your perception of Korean beauty culture, and why do you think
No,
it's so unique?
yeah, I'm totally aligned with you. So one of the biggest things that I think is at the root of Korean skincare, and this is something that I learned early on living with obviously my mom that taught me everything, is that Korean skincare, it's very centered around, it's more of a holistic beauty. So it's what you eat, what your routines are. And it's also a lot more about preventative versus curative care. So it's not so much about quick fixes and figuring out your flaws and like going and tackling that with aggressive ingredients. It's more about how can you keep a routine that is gentle, listening to your skin, figuring out what your skin needs. And then with that, continue giving it hydration, giving it care without necessarily just focusing on the bad stuff about you, right? Or the things that you see about yourself. So then it goes from being like, it's more of self-care versus like self-criticism. So for me, when I was growing up, with acne, one of the products that was the most popular, and I'm pretty sure that you heard that here too. Have you heard about Proactive for
Yes.
acne? So
Yep.
that was one of the main products, right? When I was growing up. But when you look into that, and not just Proactive, but some of the other products that treat acne, it's all about, let's fix that acne problem right now. Let's do it quick. We're going to give you like harsh exfoliants. We're going to give you a little bit more of the stronger chemicals for you to go and attack the problem. Versus when I was growing up with my mom, she would always say, she wasn't necessarily talking so much about skincare. She was just doing it. So it's really part of herself. That's part of what she did. She would always buy products from Korea that were super gentle. And it was all about hydration and all about keeping your skincare routine very gentle. So even the way that you attack your acne problems, it's the complete opposite as here. So whereas if you go to a dermatologist here, they will give you things that are going to dry out your skin, dry out the acne, which solves the problem, but then it comes with a lot of the other things, the other skin problems, right? So irritation, it comes with a lot of redness in your skin, versus the Korean philosophy is the complete opposite. Instead of drying out your skin, you're going to hydrate your skin more and be a lot more gentle compared to the way that you would treat acne here. So I think at the core, when you think about Korean beauty, it's a cultural thing. It's, you grow up with knowing that your skin, you have your skin and you need to take care of it, you need to protect it. And it's more about preventing problems to happen versus going and attacking that. And it's a lot more holistic. So it's really what you eat. And if you look at the Korean cuisine, there's tons of foods there, like the side dishes that are very healthy and very minimally processed, that it makes a big, big difference when it comes to skincare.
And that's fascinating. I think a lot of people don't even realize how much their diet affects their skin. Everything's so incredibly interconnected.
Right.
I'm just curious, since you spent time in Argentina, is it a similar mentality, or do the Argentinians approach skincare similar to the Americans? Like, let's zoom in on the problem and try to problem solve.
Yeah, personally, I think it's a little bit more, it's a Western culture.
Okay.
So the way that they approach skincare too, it's a little bit more, it's similar to here. So I kind of think that beauty within the US and Argentina is similar in the sense that it's always about fixing, but also how to mask some of the problems, right?
Mm.
So in the US, it's more about, well, the beauty standards here is like makeup, and the way that you do makeup is also super different, where it's a lot of coverage versus Argentina. I think it's a little bit more natural, where they don't use that much makeup. I think people in Argentina are a lot more comfortable in their own skin. So you grow up without using too much makeup, but you also don't use too much skincare. So it's a little bit more natural, a little more freeing, I think.
Mm. Yeah, I'm always interested in how different cultures approach different
Mhm.
things. I've lived in other countries myself, and I've always been fascinated. So, and actually, this conversation makes me recall a time in my 20s when I was a member of a running group, and we were sitting at lunch after our run one day, and one of the women in my group was 10 years older than me, and she was in her late 30s, probably early 40s at the time. And I remember her saying, I wish I had moisturized more in my 20s. And you know what? For some reason, that just stuck in my brain. Because you know what I was thinking to myself as a 28-year-old or however old I was at the time? I was like, oh my gosh, I don't moisturize. I don't do anything.
Mhm.
I was like one of those Americans who I don't, I didn't cover up with a ton of makeup, but I also kind of like the Argentinian attitude, didn't
Uh-huh.
wear a lot of makeup, but also didn't do a lot of skincare.
Right, right.
So I immediately, after she said that, I immediately started moisturizing every day.
I'm so
It's
glad she did say that.
but I'm not using Korean products, so now I think after this conversation, I'm going to research your products. Because I do love that mindset of being proactive about skincare, and the fact that you had your mother as a model, really demonstrating that every day.
Right.
So you didn't think anything of it. It's just what you do. That's how you take
Right.
part of how you take care of yourself, just like you would eat fruits and vegetables, right?
Exactly.
I love that. So tell me a little bit more about how, I mean, you mentioned skincare being more purpose driven than you had expected it to be. I mean, it started off as a side hustle, a way for you to have more balance with your family life. And then it kind of evolved into this thing that created more meaning for you and in your life as well as your clients. And I feel like a lot of people just assume, oh, skincare is just a superficial topic. People just want to look more beautiful or whatever. But I feel like there's more to it than that. What have you
Mhm.
experienced with people who use your products, or even your experience, taking trips back and forth from Korea and coming back with this bag full of goodies? Like there must be some sort of something that you're feeling that's beyond, oh, I just got some more fun products that I can use.
Yeah, what's funny is that the beauty standards are insane. I don't think we're ever going to hit and be happy with ourselves if we continue following those standards. But what I think at the core is that those standards should not exist, to be honest. It's really just the marketing, the media that portrays a specific way of looking as, oh my God, that is beautiful. But when I think about skincare and I think about the people that come to the store, and there's a lot of them that come and get their skin analysis service done because they've been using a lot of different products, but they don't think that their skin is either reacting well towards that or receiving it well, or that they don't look the way they think they should look. And to me, it comes back to like confidence and self-love, and stop criticizing yourself based on what other people look like and what you think you should look like. It's more about what are the things that are going to work for you to make you feel healthier. It's not so much beauty by itself, but once you start feeling healthier and your skin starts feeling healthier, I think that it starts shifting your confidence slowly. Like you stop chasing after a lot of the trends. You stop chasing after what other people look like. And it's like, well, you know what? This actually what makes my skin kind of dewy or a little bit more hydrated than it used to be. So then you start going from, okay, I need all of these things, towards these two or three things are the only things that are going to work for me, are the basics of my routine that are going to make me feel a little happier and a little more confident. So interestingly enough, I had a customer who did a skin analysis a while back. And while we were doing the analysis, she was telling me, I haven't taken a picture of myself without makeup in like years. And I thought about that. I'm like, well, I kind of felt the same way when I was pregnant with my kid and I was going through all this craziness with my skin. But after doing the analysis, we do recommend specific products for them. And she went back, and I think a month, 2 months later, about 2 to 3 months later, she sent me a picture. And she said, I don't hide behind makeup anymore. I do feel a lot more comfortable with my skin. Like, it's not as reactive as it used to be. So when I saw that, that was like everything to me. It's like, it really proves that what you're doing is actually helping someone. It's not so much about selling product. It's really, we all struggled with acne. We all struggled with something in our skin. But the fact that you can get to a point where you're like, I'm comfortable just showing up there for myself the way I look without having to put a bunch of stuff on my skin to feel a little bit better. So that to me was like absolutely everything. And that's really what keeps driving me and what I keep going back to Sokit. And I think this is so much more than just skincare products. It's really like trying to find yourself, trying to find something that makes you feel beautiful, but feel.
Yeah, and I love that because you're basically helping people peel back the layers of stuff that they've caked on top of their faces, or whatever analogy you want to use.
Mhm.
You're letting them reveal their true inner beauty through your skincare products. So it's
Right.
not like you're just providing a Band-Aid, a quick fix to just patch something up and hide it. You're letting people pull that layer off and let their real selves come
Mhm.
through, which is, I think, what a skincare routine should do. It shouldn't be this added layer of product that just hides
Right.
things that you don't want people to
Right.
see. Kudos to the work you're doing. And it's so courageous and brave of you to really be authentic to yourself and step away and say, you know what, I'm going to make this my full-time gig because I know I can make a positive impact on people's lives by doing this more than what I'm doing here in the consulting world. So thank you so much for being with me today and sharing your story. It's been a really fun conversation. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you would like to learn more about the Empathy Collective, check out our website, theempathycollective.com. Life is too short. Let's take care of each other at work so that together we can make this world a better place.